Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's November 4th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this is going to wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Fridays, and mostly just sideways today. Looked like we were going to rally strongly again. Obviously, this is a little too steep, so you would expect it to maybe roll over a little bit, but it didn't. It just turned over and sold off, and we recovered off that low and trade just kind of chopped sideways for most of the day before closing. We closed up again. I mean, we can see where we closed yesterday down here, and we closed up here today. So that's a 46.50, 20 something point move, basically almost 20 point, basically right at 20 points, maybe a little bit more than 20 points. So in the end, we closed up again, although it's mostly just sideways action. So this gets a little hard to trade in here. I've got some trades marked, but it's difficult to trade this. Notice we're not bouncing consistently at the. I mean, if we turn down or turned up consistently, you got a little more consistency off the lows here, but not many setups, and so it's really hard to trade that. So there's not going to be a lot of trades today, but we'll go through them real quickly, and we'll wrap up our week. And again, no chart lessons on Fridays. I stopped doing them on Fridays long ago. Just gets to be too much doing these 5 days a week every week, and so gives me a little break, lets me get out of the office on early on Fridays, which is why I became a trader anyway, so I could make my own hours and have more time for myself. Although it didn't really work out that way lately, but that's the purpose for it. People always ask me about posting something on Fridays, and that's the reason. I need a break on one day, and that gives me a break. So hopefully y'all understand. But anyway, let's talk about this. Early on, we were in this trade, or I'm sorry, we were in this range here, and just after 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock came just as we're making this high, coming up through this to this high here, and you really just get a double top, and that's a second entry short with a nice signal bar, a little ways away from the EMA. I like that trade. Um, Turns out to be a quick, easy trade. Then you get a lower high here and another nice signal bar. And there's a little room back to the EMA in the midline. So I like that one too. And then finally you get a reversal here. This one I'm a little concerned about because there's we've been bouncing right across here, although the lows are down here. So it's a little more risky. But the fact that it turned up one tick and turned down and closed that bearish, it's probably headed to these lows and could go lower. So you may take that trade. It's a little aggressive. I did mark it green for that reason. So, but anyway, notice we didn't get rejection down here. Notice how prices are not going through the support. It's holding really, but notice how we're just going sideways. That's not rejection of prices. Rejection of prices are when it comes down here. Let me find some rejection. Notice what happens here. We come down here and we bounce and we go straight out of there. That's what rejection looks like. Or we come up here and we make this high and we sell off instantly. That's what rejection looks like. This is rejection off that high. We come up here, we hit it, we turn down instantly. But when it just kind of creeps along down here like that, you got to be careful going long out of that because that's just congestion there, and that's not rejection of prices off of that support level. But notice what happens. We kind of make that little failed break lower. Unfortunately, we don't get a good signal bar. Then we get a higher low. Again, no signal bar, and it looks like congestion. But we break out and pull back and fail. So if we go higher here, that's going to be a failure. And we're probably headed back to the highs by that point. And it just takes off. And if you catch this trade, that may be the only trade you need all day. Because you probably get a runner out of that. Depending on how you played it, hopefully you got a runner out of that one. So, prices take on off. There is a little breakout pullback here, but I wouldn't trade this. That's too congested looking, and you want to see it. It does come back once and then twice, but I'd want to see it come back and test that one more time and give me a little better signal bar. You can't enter on this. I mean, this would look pretty good here, but this is you have to enter on this inside bar, and you don't want to do that. So. But notice we come up, we make a new high, we pull back first entry, we pull back, we get a nice signal bar with a second entry right off that trend line if you draw it right off those closes down there. Easy, quick trade, nice little runner there. I mean, you get a runner of basically 5 points. So you ought to be able to get 2 or 3 points out of that, maybe 4, depending on how good you are. And I mean, if you just moved your stop up below each bar, you get almost 5 points out of that, 4 for sure. And then we back off. Unfortunately, you get a second entry here on the break, but not a very good signal bar. And then we just get stuck in this. It's real tempting to maybe treat this like a failure, but you just don't have room back. It would have worked. I think you could still get out of that, but it's just not worth it. And of course, it turns down and sails off here. Let's make this a little bigger. And you just don't get a chance to enter it. Runs down here. Notice that you do have this move straight down. You try to go higher once and then twice, and you turn. So you could treat that like a failure. It's a little aggressive, but anyway, it's not the best signal bar either. And you might say, hey, it looks like a first, second entry, but that just looks like congestion with one leg up. So I'm a little leery of that one. But I marked it green all the same. And there's a bigger blue channel here, but I think you were better off to play the the two yellow ones. It was easier to play, and you got a signal on both of these with a break and a new low than the correction, and then you're moving down, and you get a close outside, a new low, and a correction. So I think you were better off to play those two yellow ones. Again, there's just no other entries down through here. We bounce, and you get a first entry, and you get a second entry here, but by that time you're in this congestion. And it's just real risky going short there, because this is what happens to you when you enter in congestion. Then it goes where you thought it was going to go anyway, and you just get whipsawed both couple of ways there probably, and then it bounces out of there. So just skip that one. Both of your two yellow ones have played out, and this would be confirming the blue trend line, the blue channel trend line, but you don't turn down here. You really just go sideways and get a close outside. So you're just asking to get trapped there. And that's what happens. They trap everybody in and then run the stops. And notice you got this one working up. You get a close outside, a couple of swings to a new high, and it turns down. Unfortunately, again, you don't get a setup to go short. Your first chance to go short's way down here, and your move's already happened. Don't go short down here. You might have looked at this as a failure, and it would have worked. But again, it's just not a very good setup. You're in this little congested area, a little range, and actually this is probably a little bit lower here, like so. So I just don't think it's worth taking. And of course, you fell out the bottom, but I'd wait on a higher low here when you got these two bar matching highs, and that comes here and no setup, and then you. But the thing here is, why did I mark that? I think this was supposed to be here, and then I've just put another one down there because you get the first entry and then you get a second entry. But I'm still not crazy about this one. You could treat it as a failed break lower too. It doesn't really look like but one leg up, so I don't think you can treat that. I don't think it works to treat that like a failure. But you could treat it like a failed breakout and take it. And of course, you got the one coming down here that's a failed breakout as well. You get your closeout. You got this channel working up. You get to close outside, move to a new high. And it's also a second entry short. First entry, second entry. And then, of course, we already talked about this one, which I think that signal bar I had right there was supposed to be right here. So anyway, you bounce on that failed breakout, and this just keeps going. You get a high or low here, but don't take that because it's right back where that previous high was, and it's just one bounce off of the former support that's acting as resistance. At least wait on a second one, and of course you notice what happens. It just runs right through and it bounces off the lows. You might have considered going long down here, but you don't have room to get out. Big signal bar. It's like 13 ticks, and there's not much room there. It is the first break of this channel coming down. I'd wait. And and of course you don't get anything. You do get a higher low here, but it's an inside bar. But then again, you get this same type setup here. It's like this is like a repeat of this one. So again, you may take that trade on a failure if you got enough room to get back out before here. So you might have to use a limit order or something to get in that one. But and again, I marked it green. It's kind of aggressive. But of course, we turn down again. You get a lower high here, but we've already come off the lows. And it's tempting to go long right here. But this is why you can't. Why I like to wait on a high or low, or at least a failed breakout, is because that's the first break of your channel, and it still runs down to a new low before it bounces out of there. And then notice the rejection again. Look how we got prices got rejected out of there twice. Of course, they didn't reject as quickly here because you got 2 or 3 bars in a row. So wait on the high or low, which comes here, and that's your better entry. You're probably going, and notice how you've been coming from the top to the bottom, to the bottom to the top, to the top to the bottom. So you're probably going to go from the bottom back to the top here. And so that makes this high or low a pretty good entry. And that's exactly what happens. And that takes us into 230. So just not a lot of trades today. All this stuff right here will just chop you to pieces. I marked that's probably the only trade I really like in there. The rest of these you could argue for them, but they're real aggressive and they're just probably going to burn you. So just stay away from them. I mean, the morning, we had a pretty good morning trade here, but after that, I mean, it's hard to sit through this stuff all day. And always, as always, there's probably a couple other trades in there you could argue for to be green. And they might have looked slightly different on your chart with a little better signal bar in some cases. If they do, that's fine. Take the trade if you want, especially if you want to be aggressive. Because I'll get 100 questions about trades that people saw that I didn't mark. And they'll, why didn't you mark this trade? Well, if I didn't mark it, there's a reason I didn't like it. If you want to ask me why I didn't like it, and maybe if you really liked it, but if it's somewhat aggressive or something, or the setup's not good or the signal bar is not good, that's probably why I didn't mark it. So anyway, that's going to do it for the week. And it's been, even though we continue to go higher, the trading has not been really great the last few days. I mean, there's some good entries, don't get me wrong, some good setups, but for the most part, it's really slow and it's really a lot of up and down and a lot of this stuff lately just kind of sideways, and you get these big moves and then you just kind of chop around and then you move again and then it flip-flops and does it in the opposite. They're just not, I just think we're running out of a lot of buyers up here right now, and we're probably consolidating a little bit. And let's just look at the daily chart and see what it looks like. I mean, actually, if you look at the daily chart, it's another big up day, but that bar is a little bit deceiving because we mostly just chopped around today and didn't really move higher until late in the day. So, but like I said, we closed up 20 more points, so it's a little deceiving. And I wondered if we just move this out, and now it looks like that's probably a midline instead of the top of the channel. So we may be running out of room up here. We'll just have to see. This thing, every time I think I've got it figured out, it does something different. Just keeps going, just keeps going. When you think it can't go anymore, that's the thing with trying to pick tops, is that you think you can pick a top, and you just think it can't go much higher, and it just keeps going higher. I mean, we're almost at 4,700 now, and just 2 weeks back or so, we were at 4,300. 400 points, it just seems like nothing now, but there was a time when that would have been a huge move. So it's still a huge move, especially considering we were coming off this, what looked like was a really strong correction. That makes that correction look like nothing now after this rally. So anyway, I mean, I don't know when this thing's going to turn down. So don't argue with it. As long as it keeps giving you the setups in whichever direction, go with it. That's the good thing about being a day trader, is that we don't have to be right for the whole day. We just need to be right for a few ticks, and it's a lot easier. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Anyway, I hope you have a great trading day tomorrow. I hope you've had a great week. I hope everybody has a great weekend as well. Always enjoy your time off, and always take a break from trading. Unless you're really trying to study your charts on the weekends, that's the only time you got. I suggest you always take a break on the weekends. It's good for you to get away from this stuff for a day or two, because I can't tell you, when I take a few days vacation or take a few days off and I come back and haven't looked at it, I can always see the charts. They always look so much clearer, and I'm refreshed, and my trading goes even better. So I really suggest you try to take some time off, especially if you're relentless at this stuff, which you really need to be in order to get better at it, because it takes a lot of time and effort. This is a skill, and like any skill, you got to immerse yourself in it and work hard at it. Uh, if you think you're just going to pick this up and say, hey, I need to make a few extra dollars to subsidize my income, and you've never traded before, it's not that easy, trust me. Nobody else will probably tell you that, but I'll tell you that it's not that easy. So this is not that hard once you get it, but it's a long journey to get there. And once you get there, it gets a whole lot easier, but getting there is not easy. So don't let anybody fool you. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.